Being the appointed time and place, the seeing quorum present, I will go ahead and call this meeting to order. Our first item up is comments and suggestions from citizens present, and seeing none present, we will move on to review and approve the minutes from February 24th.
Move for acceptance.
By Mr. Thompson. Do I have a second?
Second.
Right. Comments or corrections on the minutes? Hearing none, all in favor of approving signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Right. Our first item of business, review and take possible action, recommend authorizing the transfer of $1,255,255 in excess water utility funds to establish and fund the private lead service financial assistance project fund for the private side lead service line replacement assistance as authorized under Wisconsin statute 660811 sub 2 and sub 3. Now I'm actually going to preface this. So you go back to last fall and we were reviewing the lead line replacement project. Again, federal mandate, we need to go through and replace all the lead laterals. And the first round of that was fully funded through a combination of state and federal funds. So no homeowner had to pay any portion of those costs. But then in the subsequent rounds, the state in particular did not have the same amount of money to put in. And so there was a gap left.
I could just add to that, the entire project, we broke the city up in different census tracts.
Yeah.
So when we're into the census tracts that didn't get the full allocation.
Yeah, so when they didn't have enough money to cover everybody, they then made us break everybody up into census tracts and determine whether you would get, you as a homeowner would get your line 100% covered, 75% covered, 50% covered. And we as a commission said, we don't like the sound of that at all. We don't like that there's a difference between the first round and the second round. We want to treat everybody the same. And so Pete has spent months navigating through state commissions and regulations to find a way for us to be able to apply resources to this so that all homeowners can have their lines fully covered. And so that's what brings us to this point. And I'll hand it over to you. Thank you.
Thank you. So you all have already got my summary that I wrote up, explaining the background of this project and where we're at today. And to just dovetail on what Mr. Arnett was talking about, this has taken several months to get to this point, if not longer, looking back to the end of 2023 and seeing the future of this project to continue removing all the lead services and understanding there is now a different source of funding and carrying it forward through many meetings through the last 2 years and starting our project last year. So here we are today with finally some direction and how we provide that service replacement at 100% for everybody in the city of Watertown since we began back in 2020. So this has been through city review, city attorney, our finance director, Mayor Stevens. Andrew and I have had several meetings on this, and we've met with Mayor Stocks. So this is the route that allows us to transfer this money in order to specifically and only for paying off the homeowner's principal, non-principal forgiveness amount of the project. And so I have my numbers here on that. There are 209, and these numbers are good numbers, but they change every day we're in doing the project, where we find one that maybe is copper but not lead or vice versa. So 209 of our homeowners had a 25% cost share, and 360 would have the 50% cost share. 391 were at 100% project paid. And so the average we've been seeing to date on the cost is around $4,200. And the estimate that I used on the remaining was 5,000, which we have checked with the engineer and the DNR. We still believe that's a good number as an estimate. And so that gives you your balance that of 1,161,250. So we're asking for more than that, as we have determined that's enough of the excess funds. So if it's not used, it's not used. And as Mr. Stevens said, when the payments come in, the money gets transferred and we make the payments. We don't need to invoice our homeowners for this. I checked and I got confirmation today. Again, as the disbursements come in, project payment request, we make a disbursement request, the money is wired to the city pays the contractor. So our portion here would be paying off the loans that we got for the entire project. So the contractor still gets paid, no interruption in that. The city pays back the non-principal forgiveness amount of the loans that are broken up in the census tracts and the different DNR projects.
So it's necessary as a part of this to move that money out of the water utility fund into the general fund and to make the disbursement from the general fund.
Correct.
That
The
is-
water utility cannot make that payment. But the water utility with the direction from this commission can make a transfer of the money to the general fund, which the finance committee meeting coming up would need to accept the transfer. And then the resolution from this commission and the resolution from the finance committee would go to city council for adoption.
And then I would just add that homeowners will have received a letter, mostly late last year, that notified them of a pending line replacement. And the letter spoke of a shared cost of up to a certain amount for them. And it also spoke to the potential for grants and or loans to cover that. That language, we were required by the state to send that out phrased exactly that way. They were not going to let us avoid that in any way. So unfortunately, we had to put the letter out there that said you're facing a cost, even though we were working on this solution. So I'll be assuming this moves forward and goes all the way through council. We'll be very happy to report back to those homeowners that letter, you will not have a portion of the cost assigned to you. It will be fully covered by the city.
Correct. And as it was worded, the financial assistance that the city was to provide could be in the form of a grant. So that is the direction and my recommendation for this transfer of funds is so that we can carry it out in the form of a grant, that financial assistance provided by the city for the homeowners.
Comments or questions from commission members? Please.
I'll just echo the same comments that I've made in the past on this issue. This is a huge win for the city of Watertown to be moving towards this. I think it is a good public health option or a good public health thing for us to be paying this cost and to get to the point in the very near future where we are lead lateral free is something that a lot of cities are wishing they could get to, a lot of bigger cities as well. So I'm very much looking forward to moving this through council.
Other commission members' comments?
Would this complete the lead lateral replacement in the city this last go around?
Yes, the project we entered into that we began last year is for all of the remaining ones in the city. There are a good number, also just shy of 500 that the public side needs to be done. So that's on the utility. And that was a different loan we got for that. So that is different than this. So yes, at the end of 2027, there will be no more known lead services in the city of Watertown. we will be considered lead service free.
Any other comments? So I'll just make one final comment, and that is I really want to make sure you all understand the amount of work that Mr. Hartz has done to make this happen. He has spent hours chasing this down, not accepting no for an answer, and finding a way to get it done. And he's working on the behalf of the homeowners, of the citizens and taxpayers for the city of Watertown. So I really want to commend your effort on this item.
Thank you, Mr. Arnott.
All right. Do I hear a motion to approve this recommendation?
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Mr. Blanky, second by Mr. Moldenauer. Any comments or questions on the motion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Excellent. And our next item is review and take possible action on the 2025 annual quarry operations report.
All right, the report was in your packet this evening. We are looking for a recommendation to approve the report and submit to the DNR in accordance with state requirements. The city owns and operates the quarry at 408 Bonner Street. Because it's in the city's municipal boundary, we're also the regulator of that quarry. So it's a little goofy, the makeup of reporting versus generating the report itself. But this would be to comply with state requirements for the quarry.
Are there any comments or questions from commission members on the report? All right, do I hear a motion to approve the report as submitted?
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Thompson, is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Blanky. Comments or questions on the motion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Next is item C, review and take possible action adoption of the citywide bicycle and pedestrian network plan. Hand it over.
All right, thank you. And we have Jody with HKGI joining us. Jody, I'll turn it over to you briefly to jump into the presentation. But a bit of background on this item. About a year and a half ago, the city received a Transportation Alternatives Program or TAP grant from WSDOT. This is a federally funded grant for bike and pedestrian facilities. We contracted with HKGI and got started on the plan about a year ago, and we're nearing kind of the end of our work with HKGI, and they prepared a deliverable for us to review this evening. And Jody, I'll turn it over to you to get into the details of the report.
All right, thank you. And you should note that the full draft plan of the Watertown Bicycle and Pedestrian Network plan, it was in the packet as well as the executive summary and this presentation. So a lot of materials I realize to sift through. I'll try to go quickly through this presentation, and then if you have questions at the end, we'll open it up. As Andrew mentioned, we started this project a little over a year ago, and we had a couple purposes for this plan. First, to create a plan that addresses the future of your citywide bicycle and pedestrian network. We also really wanted to gather and incorporate community feedback, make sure that we're really listening to folks in your community. Identify best practices and guide the city in the future facility and network investments. Guide policy and programming improvements such as wayfinding, bike parking, and educational encouragement activities, and also build awareness of and enthusiasm for expanding multimodal transportation in and around Watertown. Number of plan objectives, we really wanted to address facilities and infrastructure, make sure that we're weaving in encouragement and education opportunities, addressing a variety of users. This plan is really written for hopefully everyone in your city, not just folks who are avid bikers or people who are already out walking, but really trying to get to families, youth, seniors, people who would like to be biking and walking who maybe aren't today. make vital connections to your community destinations. And then finally, prioritize and implement. You'll see kind of towards the end of the presentation that we've put together a pretty comprehensive list of projects and tried to prioritize those and set you up for implementation of the plan. We started off the project by looking at existing conditions, and we really spent actually a long time throughout the whole project looking at existing conditions, reviewing demographics. We really focused on travel behavior and looking at who in the city would most benefit from a plan like this. People who don't currently own vehicles, people who might like to bike or walk to work who don't currently today. We also did a very robust relevant plan review. We looked at as many plans as possible that you've already done and made sure that we're trying to stay in alignment with those decisions that have already been made. We looked at your existing facility inventory and also did a pretty comprehensive review for what is possible in the future. We looked at your regional connections. We also looked at traffic safety and roadway information such as crash data, AADT, all that kind of information that helps us understand where some of those safety concerns might be. Then we also looked at hydrology, topography, land use, and we did a city ordinance review. We also, throughout the whole project, we really focused on community engagement. We worked with city staff, especially communication staff, to develop a project website and also let people know about events and opportunities to give feedback on the plan along the way through social media, email outreach, one-on-one meetings, etc. We had a couple pop-up events at Riverfest last summer, as well as at the bike rodeo with the police department in June. We had a community open house in August. We met 5 times over the course of the project with the Bike and Ped Task Force. We actually expanded that group to include some folks from Jefferson and Dodge County, as well as your school districts. So we kind of expanded that task force to be a community advisory committee. We also had additional stakeholder engagement meetings. We conducted a community survey, and we also had an interactive mapping tool that was open called Social Pinpoint. So we heard a lot from the community, and we really tried to base the plan on what we heard. Some of those barriers and challenges that were identified, overall a lack of interconnected facilities in the city, physical barriers such as rail lines, highways, the Rock River, those really impact where it's easy to bike and walk today. Need for specific upgrades at intersections, need for consistent, well-defined facilities for bicyclists to travel across the whole city. And in general, one-way streets in downtown are difficult for bicyclists to navigate and impede connectivity. Some of the opportunities that the community identified, really creation of a network of well-connected bikeways and sidewalks that make choosing to bike or walk to school a viable option. That was really a big opportunity that we heard about. Also connecting to the Rock River. People really want to be able to get to the river, use the river walk, and access multiple water locations throughout the city. People are really concerned about safety and would like to see considerations for young people, families, seniors, and people who are visiting Watertown. People want to promote Watertown as a biking destination and also develop and support programs for education and awareness, especially around road etiquette for all roadway users. So with the existing conditions analysis, the community engagement we heard, we put together the network plan. And this is really the full build out of what could be over the next 5, 10, 15, 20, 25 years. It will take a while to implement this entire plan, but really it's a roadmap for the future. And we looked at, as many possibilities as we could across the city and tried to identify what made sense in which location. Shared use paths, those are the blue lines on the map. The dotted blue lines are proposed areas. These are really the shared use path network. Those are the trails or the bikeways and the pedestrian ways that people really want to see the most. They're also the most expensive. And so we tried to identify the best places for those because they're also the hardest to implement. We also looked at 2-way protected bike lanes in a few places through your downtown, recognizing that it's going to be very difficult to implement new facilities in your downtown area while maintaining parking, while maintaining your existing pedestrian circulation. So this is kind of a compromise, a way to keep parking, on one side of the road, designate protected bike lanes on the other side of the road, and keep your sidewalks and your curb to curb distance as is. We also looked at areas to expand your bike lane network. And then we also looked at neighborhood bikeways. These are mostly in your residential areas, places where you can implement shared lane markings or sharrows. And then we also looked at places to expand your sidewalk network, knowing that there are a few neighborhoods in the city that, currently really aren't serviced by sidewalks today that could really use it. So areas like the Northwest area, as well as areas around Riverside Park, and then connecting to the interurban trail around Concord. As part of the plan, we also included facility design guidance, a lot of information about these different facility types and preferred widths, preferred design components, locations, preferred maintenance operations. Really a lot is in there. We also looked at specific intersection treatments. We identified, I think, 39 intersections throughout the city and paired them with some recommended or suggested treatments for safety upgrades that would be implemented as part of those future network projects. We also looked at other system recommendations that can help support your overall biking and walking network. So identified places for future trail access points, amenities at those locations, bike parking, wayfinding, a lot of information about railroad crossings because you have quite a few in your city. Also bridge crossings and constrained areas, and recommendations for landscaping and stormwater management in conjunction with these projects. We also have a chapter on policy recommendations. We've got some suggested code revisions, mainly including electric bicycles, identifying the different classes, and including that language as part of your citywide code. And then we have some suggestions on recommendations for speed limits for different facility types. So setting a speed limit on sidewalks at 15 miles per hour and really limiting that to pedestrians and mobility devices, and then shared use paths, speed limit of 20 miles per hour. And then finally, in the last chapter is all about implementation. We've taken a look at that network plan, and we've separated the projects into kind of 3 buckets. Backbone projects, these are generally larger projects that are really vital to making those bigger connections across your city. These are also the projects that are going to probably be the most expensive and take the most effort in order to implement. And so, we realize that some of these might take a long time, but they really are going to make up the backbone of your city's network. Ongoing projects, those are the yellow projects. These are primarily your sidewalk infill projects and also your neighborhood bikeways. These are projects that we see can be potentially folded in incrementally into your CIP. And then long-term projects, these are also big projects, but will probably require more coordination and collaboration with county partners or other agencies, or are part of future development projects. And so not saying that they couldn't happen in the near term if opportunity arises, but maybe they're not the top priority for trying to tackle right now. Also, as part of this implementation chapter, we provided some additional recommendations to help support implementation in general. The Bicycle and Pedestrian Task Force, we are recommending to continue that committee, and also some recommendations about how that committee might want to shift or change over the future. Evaluation, monitoring, and tracking. This is really important, as especially for future grant seeking, to set up kind of a regular annual schedule for revisiting the plan, revisiting your network inventory, and making sure that you're staying on track, or at least evaluating what those priorities are from year to year. Agency and county coordination. It's really important. Many of the projects will require coordination with WISDOT, Dodge County, Jefferson County. And so making sure that you're staying in contact, maybe on a quarterly or yearly basis with those agencies. And then encouragement and education, there's a number of recommendations about wayfinding, as well as other education opportunities to support your network. As well as in this chapter, there are recommendations for operations and maintenance, and also a pretty extensive list of potential funding sources. So with that, thank you very much. And it's been really great to work with city staff, and also the Bike and Ped Task Force. And I really want to commend your city because you've really done a great job of collecting a lot of feedback, and we heard from so many people over the last 14 months. So I feel really confident that what we are showing in the plan is something that people really want to see. And with that, I guess I will open it up for questions or comments.
Commission members?
Couple things that jumped out to me during the presentation. One that jumped out was the speed limits on the bike paths. So it's 15 to 20 miles an hour. The question I have is, do electric bikes have a speedometer?
That's a really good question. I think some of them do, but I think it's actually required that bikes that are class 1, 2, and 3, I think they do have to have a speedometer on them.
Okay.
But don't quote me on that.
Okay. And then with that, how is something like that enforced?
Yeah, it's pretty difficult, and I'd be willing to bet almost every community in our country right now is dealing with the same question. It's really hard to enforce, and really it seems that the folks who are getting it right are the ones who are really tackling it from encouragement and education standpoint. Other ways that you can potentially enforce this is by potentially having like a helmet requirement. And so that gives your police enforcement an opportunity to, stop folks and talk to them about what the rules are. But it is really difficult to enforce. You're not going to have your police force out tracking that the same way they would vehicles. But it really is about etiquette and education.
Okay. The next item I have a question on is the two-way protected bike lanes. You mentioned that in the downtown, it was a compromise to go with this particular approach. What was this a compromise between? What were the other options?
Well, when I say compromise, I flipped to this slide showing that. So the compromise is that today, but from curb to curb, let's say you've got 36 feet. You've got today parking on both sides of the roadway and then 2 driving lanes. And in order to accommodate additional bicycle facilities, something has to give here. So this is a type of facility where, because you can put both lanes of the bicycle traffic on one side of the roadway, you can still keep on-street parking on the other side versus a traditional bike lane, which would probably take up both sides of your on-street parking. So that's the compromise, is that you're able to keep parking, keep 2 lanes of travel, keep bicycle travel, and keep pedestrian travel. So it's kind of looking at all of the users.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Other comments or questions from commission members?
I have comments, but I figured anyone else who wanted to have questions.
The policy recommendation for limit all bikes, e-bikes, e-scooters use on sidewalks. I'm trying to read the intent of that. Limit or prohibit or are allowed, but 15
Yes,
miles an hour on a bike on a sidewalk is fairly quick.
Yeah, and I should, there's a lot of information that's not on this slide that's included as part of the draft plan, but really, mobility devices are, electric wheelchairs, for example, generally those max out at about 12 miles per hour. And we wanted to make sure that we are including or not, we're not prohibiting any mobility devices on your sidewalks, but we are kind of cutting it off for most e-bikes.
Okay.
Sorry, I have one more question that came to me. Was this study done with the assumption that Fourth Street is one-way traffic or two-way traffic? Because
So yeah.
Fourth Street has been identified as one of the roads for a two-way protected bike lane. It is currently one-way. In a few short years, that will be two-way. So when the study looked at that, did it take into account the current traffic pattern or the projected future traffic pattern?
Yeah, that's a great question. So we looked at all of the streets in the kind of downtown core area, and we looked at the widths and a number of other factors. And we did, with consultation with city staff, kind of look at what those potential two-way conversion streets would be. And we would recommend that this two-way protected bike lane really would work best on a two-way road, not a one-way road. And so that was considered.
Okay, thank you.
Right, any other questions at this point? Otherwise, then we'll switch to, thank you, Jody. Appreciate that. Comments, commission members. But
I feel like I'm monopolizing this issue. So my big concern is these two-way the two-way protected bike lanes. They do remove an entire lane of parking on one side of the street. One of the streets identified is First Street. That street already is tight on parking. The city has chosen to purchase land adjacent to that to add more parking. So removing a lane of parking from that street in particular, I think is a mistake. I'm not opposed to a bike lane or something of that nature on that street. However, removing a lane of parking there, I think, is not a good idea. I also question, quite frankly, any of the two-way protected bike lanes removing parking downtown. We just had a very compelling presentation at council last week that raised some serious questions about our parking studies based on the timing that those parking studies were done and events that were going on downtown when those studies were done. So the biggest complaint we often hear is parking downtown. And I think removing parking on 4th Street, 1st Street, and Market Street, especially Market Street, which is one block behind Main. You know, you want walkability to your downtown, park on Market Street, you're one block from where you want to walk to. Taking away a lane of parking there is going to make it even harder for people to visit downtown, not easier. So if I like everything else in the presentation, I like everything else in the plan, these two-way protected bike lanes to me are a non-starter.
If I can respond it, so for all of the projects, these are really kind of at step 0 of many steps in order to see them through implementation. We were going off of the I think it was a 2022 parking study that showed that there was pretty good amount of capacity within your downtown, but I also understand if there's been some questions about the validity of some of those numbers. It would be recommended for all of the facilities to have a, serious look at an engineering level, at a design engineering level before anything is implemented. Some of the other potential, ways to maybe look at those two-way protected bike lanes would be to alternatively look at a sidewalk conversion for a trail. I do think that if you were to look at bike lanes, like regular, bike lanes, one on each side of the roadway, you'd probably end up losing more parking than with a two-way facility. But again, that, much closer look needs to be had it for any project before it can be implemented.
And if I might add, Jody, when we spoke and went over this conceptually, I think city staff had similar concerns to what Alder Blanky is describing on parking loss in the downtown area. One thing that you had reminded us of is this is a long-term plan. It's not going to be done in the next, 5 years. It's going to be potentially decades long. So maybe these lanes get added when there's additional parking activated off street or the scenario changes, but we did have similar concerns to what you were describing.
Yeah, I think the main takeaway is that currently you've got a very large barrier through your downtown for bike connectivity. And there's really not a good solution today without completely reconstructing your roadways and widening everything, which would be I think probably out of the question. So yeah, those might be a very long-term solution, and they will probably require some other conditions to change in order for them to be implemented.
So I'll just caution that, having been at this for quite some time, I've unfortunately seen more often than not that things that are put into plans as long-term get thrown back out again and again and again. And people have forgotten that they were put in there as potential long-term. And like, no, it's in the plan. It's in the plan. We were promised. It was in the plan. So I'm not in favor of including things that we realistically don't think we're going to do or are so heavily contingent upon some other external factor. I think that's a caution. My other comment has to do with the implementation, the list of projects. I think if one were to view this as a 30-year plan, then perhaps a list of projects that is $8 to $10 million is maybe plausible. And I understand that people express support for these, but I think when they were presented, it was without cost. And lots of things people are in favor of when they aren't shown a cost for it. And so I would like to see that if we move forward with this plan, that as a follow-up action, we ask for city staff to draw up a much smaller subset of that list that is a prioritized projects to aim after for the next 5 to 10 years. Because any one of those 3 blocks, starting with the backbone ones, that's $5 million. That's not going to happen in the next 5 to 10 years. It's just not. There's too much competition for city resources. So that would be my encouragement to commission as a follow-on action to this. Again, if we move forward. Other comments from commission members? Mr. Moldenauer?
One question. If you have a roadway marked for bicycles then there would be no need to have bicycles on sidewalks, correct?
Well, currently bicycles aren't allowed on sidewalks.
But I'm just saying, if there's a roadway marked for bicycles, if there is not a roadway marked for bicycles, then you'd mention that it could be on the sidewalks. I can understand that. But if there is a roadway marked for bicycles, then there'd be no need for them to be on the sidewalk.
I think there maybe was a misunderstanding. I think probably what you're referring to is a conversion of a sidewalk to a shared use path. Today, and also, we're not recommending side or bicycles to be ridden on sidewalks. They're really for pedestrians.
Okay.
All right.
Because I always, in my own mind, I always felt, to me, bicycles shouldn't be ridden on sidewalks to begin with because that's for pedestrian traffic. But that's my own personal view.
That's reflected in current city code.
Right.
All right. If there are no other comments, I'll entertain a motion to forward this to council, right? So go next.
To council, staff is also seeking guidance. Alder Smith is part of the Bike and Ped Task Force meeting to recommend the study to come to Public Works Commission. Suggested a committee of the whole meeting to review it at a larger, kind of more in-depth look with council members outside of the resolution. Staff is deferring to the commission on whether to move that cow forward or leave as resolution to council for adoption.
I think I'll discuss that with the mayor.
Okay, very good.
All right, do I hear a motion?
I'd make a motion to recommend moving forward with this.
Okay, and is there a second?
I'd second that.
All right, comments or questions on the motion?
To Alderman Blanky's reference to First Street. First Street is not long for this world either. There's opportunity there possibly to reconfigure smaller boulevards, no boulevards, smaller sidewalks, and still have two-way, maybe two-side parking, like in Madison and Johnson Street. That's a one-way, but they're also almost coincident, the bike lane and the travel lane. So I think the opportunity exists to look at it in the future, not to say it's going to happen, but the opportunity and a reconstruction in the future might work.
And you're right. My thought process is the same as Alder Arnett's. We're not going to be on this council 15 years from now. So this plan is going to pop up at that point in time, and someone is going to look at it and say, well, this is the plan. This is what we should do or must do. Based on that, I'd like to propose an amendment
All right,
that under the backbone projects, that J, K, and L are future possible recommendations, not necessarily the plan going forward. That way we have record that we have some concern as to the feasibility of these items. And as stated, a lot can change in 20 years.
all right, so before you continue, so your motion is to amend the plan to label J, K, and L in the backbone projects list as future possible recommendations.
Yes.
To go ahead and get it on the table, I'll go ahead and second that. So my question is, should we also then amend the maps that when they're showing that it says possible? Because people are going to look at the map.
Yes. Trying to find the page in the map now.
82.
And to label the map on page, I'd like to amend my amendment to include that tag on the map included on page 82 of our packet.
Okay.
Will you accept as a friendly?
I will accept that as a friendly. All right, so there's a motion to amend the plan to label those two-way paths, lanes, I should say, in the project list, items J, K, and L as future possible recommendations, and to label those lanes on the map on page 82 with the same way. Comments or questions on the motion to amend?
Is that a slippery slope when you're saying 3 out of 20 are possible future? That means all the other ones are givens. Will happen, shall happen.
I think they were presented that way anyway.
Okay.
That was the heart of my comment.
Right.
Is that when things aren't labeled that way, then people assume that.
So any future council could be held that this shall happen.
People will try to bring it up that way.
Yes. Okay.
Other comments or questions on the motion to amend? All right, roll call vote on that. Mr. Blanky?
Aye.
Oldenauer?
Aye.
Mr. Thompson? And I'll vote aye as well. All right, now we're back to the amended motion to recommend the amended plan to council. Any comments or questions on the motion? And regarding my comment about the 5 to 10 year plan, I'll just work separately with our public works leadership on integrating that into our capital planning effort. So you'll see that in a forthcoming presentation. All right, if there's nothing else, then all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you very much, Jody.
Thank you.
Our next item is approval of, review and take a possible action, approval of the 2025 MS4 permit annual report.
All right, so we're trying to figure out the best way to present the slides to you. So the reason I'm here tonight is because one of our MS4 permit requirements is to present the MS4 permit content to my elected officials. So what we want to do tonight is present the 2025 MS4 permit annual report. That includes our municipal separate storm sewer system, which is our storm system here, as opposed to being a combined system. It's separated from our wastewater. I apologize. I lost my voice over the weekend and I'm coming back strong. So we're going to go over some of the program goals, go over a little bit of the content of the report. I'm not going to go into too much detail because you did have the report in your packet. We tried to keep the report shorter this year. We try that every year. We're getting closer. And then just touching on the next permit, which we're still anticipating soon. So as usual, our stormwater program has three primary prongs to it. It's composed of flood control or quantity control, pollutant control, which is our MS4 permit requirements, and then maintenance of everything to make sure that what we're doing is going to work. Excuse me. So we combined some of the slides. Our outreach and education and public involvement requirements are basically how we're getting stormwater information out to the public. Passive information such as websites and newsletters, these are things that fall under the outreach and education component. Public involvement is really getting people to be actively involved. And we're doing much of this through the Rock River Stormwater Group, which is a combination of, we're up to about 14 or 15 communities now starting in Bawa Pond, Beaver Dam, going down the Rock River, including Whitewater, going on to Janesville and Beloit, also including Monroe now, as well as some townships near Janesville that have recently joined on. The Rock River Stormwater Group has been around for almost 20 years now. This is the group that we provide funds to, and then we've got a member from each community that helps decide how to spend that money and how to go ahead and do these events. UW Whitewater Marketing Association is the ones who actually implement the program for us. So they're the ones that are out doing the stream monitoring programs. I'm sorry, they're out doing the stream cleanup programs. They're helping with the Boo Bash and the farmers markets and the lights and sirens. So all these different tabling events. We have UW Whitewater students out there in all these communities doing these components to meet our permit requirements. We also work with the Rock River Coalition. They become a pretty decent partner, and they're helping on some different projects that they get grant money for as being a nonprofit themselves. And they help implement things within the different communities, including Watertown. Our illicit discharge and elimination program kind of goes hand in hand with our GIS or mapping updates. So we've been doing some mapping updates over the past couple of years, and we're able to refine the numbers, refining what we really have out there in the field. We used to report over 550 storm sewer outfalls, and we've been able to prove that. We're actually down about 408. There's some more work we need to do this year to confirm that or not. So we're just getting better numbers, going through our mapping and refining everything. We are still stuck at 49 illicit discharge inspections that we do annually, but we are down to the point where we only tested 13 of them in field this year. That's like half of where we started 5 years ago when I was here. So we're using less chemical, less time, less money to actually go out there and do the actual testing that we need to do. A lot of this has to do with analyzing the data that comes through. When we're out doing outfall testing and we found some water coming out of the outfalls, we take a sample, we test it, and there's nothing there. It's clean groundwater. We're able to track that over multiple years and then take that analysis and turn that on DNR and get them to buy off on the fact that it's really water coming through some pump discharges, or it's groundwater coming into the pipe system. And we can show they've got a history of it being groundwater, there's no pollutants. They're okay with us just not testing that again in the future. So we can document that. That's an extra step we've taken that's beyond the requirement, but to actually analyze what we're doing and just make some common sense steps with that. This year we had 0 hits when we did our illicit discharge sampling. So we had nothing that was detected, no pollutants that were detected beyond limits. We are going again with our mapping and putting in new storm pipe, new BMPs, the as-built data that comes in when we have new streets and subdivisions coming in. And then we're also, again, continuing to refine that program and go through and proof the information that is out there versus information that's in the field. Our erosion control inspections this year, we're over 130 of them. That does include our own city-owned projects. So on city-owned properties that are over an acre, we have our own individual DNR permit that requires weekly and post-half-inch rain event inspections. We did that, as well as doing the monthly inspections on private projects too. So of that, we had 10 sites that are over an acre. Those get reported specially in the report. For inactive sites, we still have to go out and see if anything's happening, so that's a bi-monthly inspection. But what we've really found success with is meeting with the contractors at the beginning of construction, letting them know who we are, find out who they are, find out who to contact if there's a question. If we can start getting some complaints from residents, then we know who to get in touch with. We can meet out there, have a discussion, and that way we just kind of don't have to escalate things to papers and letters and things like that. We just talk it through and find a solution. Our post-construction stormwater management is all those stormwater BMPs, so our wet ponds, infiltration basins, biofilters, permeable pavement. All these things are reviewed. We do the reviews in-house here instead of sending them out to a secondary engineering consultant to look at. We go back and forth with a design engineer to make sure they're meeting standards and requirements in our ordinance. We did have a few new ones constructed this year. So Lumen Terrace is the apartment complex down near Rock River Ridge. They put in a very large biofilter. Johnsonville had one, but they put in a extended parking lot, so they retrofitted their existing biofilter to make a larger one to meet their stormwater needs. And then the city put in a bioswale over near Hiawatha Street, near the Right Way Bus Company. So that was an area where we had some complaints about stormwater runoff, and we turned that into an opportunity to get some water quality treatment and some pollutant reduction. So we issued 12 different erosion control and stormwater permits. In addition to that, we completed 17 total plan reviews and revisions. So some of those plan reviews started last year, they carried over to this year. Some of them are projects that come to us and we do the reviews, but they never come to fruition in actual permit. That's just the nature of the beast. Some things get delayed and some get put off. One thing I did want to highlight is the Meta BNP program that we are working on. Meta BNP is a different software program that we're trying to track our stormwater maintenance of private and, I'm sorry, this year of public BMPs. It's something that's going to hopefully streamline our process and reduce the redundancy of having to do inspections in the field, come in and translate that into something electronic, the spreadsheets and everything else, try and put it all in one place, something that should make communication with owners good in the future. We're participating in a pilot program along with a few other communities. I believe Wauwatosa, and Fitchburg are a couple that come to mind, with our consultant regarding the Meta BMP program. So we're going to try that again this year as a pilot project on our own BMPs, and then determine if we want to move forward with that, or, you know, if we decide it's not going to work. Pollution prevention is the MS4 permit term for all of our citywide operations that have any kind of impact on pollutants that can get into the waterway. So really what our street department does for a big part, or maybe parks. So all the different lane miles that we sweep, our street sweeper is picking up debris as well as fine particles that would otherwise be in the waterway. So we had 232 lane miles of that, 450 yards of sediment and debris collected from the street sweeper. That all goes down to the landfill. We've got numbers on here regarding the amount of salt and brine that was applied to streets for the last reporting year. In addition to that, our internal training gets reported underneath pollution prevention. So a couple highlights there were wind slam training for 3 of our engineering staff this year. This is something that we have not had for, I think, well over a decade, considering the software that we found in the office. And then on top of that, 6 of our park staff went to Saltways training for the first time this year, which is great because we've been focusing so much on our street department and how much salt they use. There's other folks within the city that were also responsible for training and making sure they're using great judgment. So it was great to have them move forward to the Saltways training. All right, so our TMDL, or the Total Maximum Daily Load study for the Rock River Basin, has the city within 3 different reach sheds. That's kind of like a subwatershed. And we have requirements to reduce the amount of total suspended solids or sediment and total phosphorus that's coming out of our storm sewer system and getting to the local waterways. So we've actually totaled up what we've done within the past 4 years. So you've seen a number of permeable pavement systems going in, as well as biofilters going in on city projects. This is just a quick spreadsheet, and I can be happy to answer questions about that later. I know it's very small for you to see. But this is what we're reporting to DNR, is that between the projects we've been doing over the past 4 years and then the one water quality trading project we've done, we now have 79 pounds of phosphorus controlled and over 26,000 pounds of TSS controlled. The numbers at the bottom there in red show how much of that was from that one water quality trading project. So 17,000 pounds of that was from that one project, of TSS was from that one project, and over 70 pounds of phosphorus, again, from that one water quality trading project. So without the water quality trading, we would not be able to make as much progress. The next MS4 permit, from what we understand, we're going to be required to reduce another 65,000 pounds of TSS and another 152 pounds of phosphorus over 5 years. So I wanted to share these numbers with you because this is my 4-year total compared to what we're going to have to do. And that's where the water quality trading so far is working out good. We're gonna hope that that was a good example project and that we can continue with that. I think I have one more slide. This is no big surprise. This is a repeat of last year's slide because we are still waiting for the next permit to come out from DNR. We have heard last week, conference I was not at, but we heard through the grapevine that they said it might be out within the next month. This permit is still moving through DNR channels and we are expecting to see it sometime soon. So it'll be a 5-year permit. Excuse me, and we did cover the, losing it, Andrew. Go.
Right. So leading up, coming in 2026, we're building off of what we've done in the last couple of years, a greater focus on maintenance. This includes both our public and private system. It also includes our MS4 system as far as pipes. I think we're within our 4th year of a cleaning and televising program, which was approved last week. So making good progress there. We're looking to do additional stormwater pollution prevention plans. So that's really just revising what we've done in the past, looking at city-owned sites where we can kind of reflect current practices within those plans. We have 5 total, correct? 5. Salt use reporting, calibration of equipment. We'd be looking to calibrate salt spreading equipment and brining equipment to make sure we're using salt wisely and correctly, application rates as recommended, so we're not wasting salt when we do our de-icing operations. And then TMDL reductions, we're looking at 20% TSS, 10% phosphorus, of the remainder needed to meet our TMDL.
I would just try and add, these are things that we've been hearing from DNR at the presentations and statewide stormwater industry presentations that will be in the next permit.
Thank you. So I don't really have any questions about the report. I wanted to bring attention to this part first and foremost. Like, we all need to be aware that there's going to, this has been a process ongoing for, well, last 20 years on many of these things. And unfortunately, we keep taking off the, we're not unfortunately, what we can manage is take off the easy layer at that time. We're running out of the easy layers. We're just about out of the easy layers. There's no more easy. From here on, it's expensive rather than easy. And so none of us can predict exactly what's going to come out of this, but it's going to require significant work on our part. And it's going to be expensive. And it's unfortunate, but that's the way it works, is that in the world of pollution, it's point sources and non-point sources. And the regulation is heavily centered around point sources, things you can point at. And our pipes are things you can point at. Runoff from other sites, can't point to that. So it burden unnecessarily really falls on us disproportionately. And that's just the way the system works. So I just wanted to highlight this. It's coming up. We'll have to see exactly what comes out of that, but it's not going to be easy. No more easy. Not that what we've been doing is easy, but other commission member comments?
I have 2. One, and I didn't write down the number of yards that were taken out, but with
450.
the 450. So 450 yards from street sweeping and catch basin cleaning. And one of the questions that I get sometimes is, why don't we use sand on the streets anymore? And this goes back more than a decade. The reason it was stopped is because, if I understand correctly, all of that sand needs to be landfilled, correct? You can't reuse it. You can't do anything. Once you take it out of a catch basin, it has to be landfilled. So kind of an adjacent to this.
We did evaluate whether we could clean the sand and use it over again, and what kind of equipment and filtering everything. And even if we were to invest in the techniques into the materials we needed, we still couldn't meet that due to our land uses here within the city. If we were more of a residential community, we might have been able to do that at some cost, but we couldn't meet the requirements to be able to reuse it and not take it to the landfill. But we did check it out.
Thank you. The other thing that jumped out to me was the comment you made that you make a point to go and meet with contractors and people on site and have that person-to-person contact. A handshake and a smile with someone is far more effective than a letter from a municipality. And there's a saying, what you get more of with honey, and I won't complete it, but it's that kind of forward-facing attitude is really beneficial. And I think it also puts the city in a good light and definitely puts a department in a good light. So thank you.
Other comments?
Maureen, do you have on the horizon some more water quality trade opportunities? Obviously, they're making 90% of our phosphorus reduction right now, so.
Yes, so we do work with Jefferson County Land Water Conservation Department. They're the ones that implement this program for us. They have the contacts and they have the expertise to know what's a good project and not a good project. They worked through, I think we had 4 or 5 different potential projects this past year. Unfortunately, to get them to the point where DNR would accept them, the landowners were not interested in doing them anymore. So we are looking at another batch of projects, and we are intending on having one, I'm gonna say at least under contract this year, if not implemented this fall. It might be under contract this year for implementation in spring, but that all goes to the exact project and when the farmer wants to implement it. So we are looking at a number of projects. We have a we have a map with a database, a list of well over 100 sites already identified. But that's what we've given to the Conservation Department staff to kind of weed through that and figure out what the best projects might be.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other comments or questions? Otherwise, do I hear a motion to recommend to council? Discuss to council, yes, yep. Mr. Blanky,
I moved forward to council with a positive recommendation.
do I have a second? Mr. Moldenauer. Comments or questions on the motion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Next, item E, review and take possible action, contract with Robert E. Lee and Associates for construction inspection of Rock River Ridge Phases 2 and 3 for $53,653.
All right, so the city is looking to contract with Robert E. Lee and Associates for construction inspection of storm sewer and sanitary sewer in Rock River Ridge Phases 2 and 3. We've worked with Robert E. Lee in the past on construction inspection. They're doing edge field inspection for us currently. We did see quotes. Robert E. Lee was the only firm to submit a quote. However, we did solicit multiple, just given the timing and consultants' workloads. Others were unable to submit for this particular project. We did look at R.E. Lee's rates, and this was structured on a working day and a time and expense not to exceed amount. We felt their proposal cost-wise was in line and appropriate. We're looking to go under contract with R.E. Lee for this inspection service. The water department will be overseeing inspection of water infrastructure with their staff, and roadway items will be inspected with engineering division staff. So these are kind of the 2 remaining pieces to be inspected. We would invoice half of the cost to the developer.
All right. First, can I have a motion on this item
I'd move for that.
and a second?
Second.
All right, comments or questions?
Do you know how many lots are included in these 2 phases, or? I mean, I'm assuming this is down past the YMCA.
Yes.
Correct. I don't offhand, but I can get that for you pretty quickly.
Any other comments or questions on the motion? Otherwise, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. And our last item is Review and take action, ordinance to amend sections 446.13, lead acid batteries, major appliances, waste oil and tires and yard waste. Section 446.17, title to recyclable material. Section 457-6, street and sidewalk openings. Section 457-11, snow and ice removal. Section 457-12, use of streets or sidewalks for sale of merchandise. And section 457-17, depositing of yard waste in streets or alleys prohibited of the City of Watertown general ordinances. First, can I have a motion, please?
Also move.
All right, and do I have a second?
I'll second.
All right, now comments or questions on the motion?
The ordinance has 2 more sections not listed in the agenda. I have, your last one was 457-17A. I'm on page
Not entitled,
265.
yes, right.
Two
So
more.
457-27E1 and 484-5.
Yes.
All right. I'll make sure that's included in the record for what I read in. Thank you.
I have a question.
Please.
So on the very first section, 446-13, A and B. So as I understand, those are being struck from the ordinance entirely. What exactly does that mean? Are then citizens able to bring their lead acid batteries to the street department and put their appliances on the curb? Or because I don't see anything replacing that verbiage, it's simply taking it out. And what we're taking out says lead acid batteries will not be accepted by the city. All lead acid batteries must be taken to area retailers who sell vehicle batteries to a salvage yard. We're striking that without replacing it with anything. So hopefully people don't just start tossing their batteries in the garbage, but I guess I don't understand what we're doing there.
Stacy, can you
Yep.
give some background on that one, please?
Yep, can you hear me okay?
Yes.
So it is struck out because we do accept lead acid batteries. We never used to. Our current recycling company does take all batteries. Some we send to the clean sweep, some we recycle with our new recycling contractor. So it was just taken out. Same thing with B, because we no longer have to have the Freon removed from items. We take those from city residents. And they can just bring it as is without having the Freon removed. And all of that is on our website and on our recycling guideline sheets and, everything that they can bring to us. It just is basically this, all of our changes in this ordinance is cleanup, so to speak, to match our current, what we accept. And then the rest of it is, a lot of it is just title changes, division. It's not department anymore. We're a division under the Public Works Department. So a lot of it is cleanup and title changes.
Right. And I appreciate that. I think this is a positive change. It makes things better for the citizens of Watertown. I'd be more comfortable if we put something into the ordinance reflecting the change. That,
As a positive.
yes, as a positive, like, because now there's nothing at all in the, if we go with this, there's nothing at all in the ordinance regarding these items.
And the preamble paragraph above says they shall manage lead acid batteries, major appliances as follows.
Right.
Nothing following.
And it could be something as simple as lead acid batteries, appliances
That's it.
with compressors will be accepted at the street department facility. I mean, one sentence, I think, is all we really need. That compresses all that down to one. But as you said, puts a positive item in there that gives that direction. Because policy can be changed very easily.
Okay.
Whereas ordinance takes 2 readings. Well, it needs to pass the committee and then 2 readings at council. So I would like to make a motion to amend to the first line would then become A, and all subsequent lettering would change as well. The first line would be A, lead acid batteries and major appliances with compressors will be accepted at the street department only.
That's fine, except for if we're gonna say that, can you say, street and solid waste division, because that's part of the changes, it's not department, so.
Yes, thank you, thank you.
I'm just writing it down.
Is that a motion?
That was a motion.
I would second that.
Just a moment here. All right, so there's been a motion made and seconded to amend by inserting an item A under 44613 and renumbering the things after it. Item A to read, lead acid batteries and major appliances with compressors shall be accepted at the street/solid waste division only. Comments or questions on the motion to amend?
Could each of the existing A and B just be restated, and then C, D through the remainder would not need to be amended at all?
Well, they already have some other amendments going on, but yeah.
That's fine.
Any other comments or questions on the motion to amend? All those in favor of the motion to amend signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, is now amended, and now we're back to the amended changes. Any other comments or questions on the remaining items in the proposed ordinance?
I just want to say thank you to Stacy for your work on this. I know we had a discussion probably 6 months, maybe even a year ago, about this coming up, that more items will be accepted. And anytime that we can provide better service to the residents, we reduced some of the rates that they had to pay to dispose of things. Now we're accepting more items. Anytime we can do that, I think it's a good thing for the city and it's a benefit to the citizens. And we're so used to municipalities cutting services and making things tighter. To be able to make things looser is it's a rare thing, and it's nice to see. So thank you for your hard work on this, Stacy.
Thank you.
All right.
Stacy, on section 457-11, snow and ice removal, we are transitioning from the street superintendent causing removal of snow and ice on sidewalks to the police chief or designee. I just wanted to confirm with you that that is based on a meeting we had with the police department, park staff, street division staff regarding kind of the change there, and that change reflects current practice. Just with the change in department, I want to be clear on that one.
Yeah, thank you. All right, if there is nothing else, then I will go ahead and call the question on the now amended motion. All those in favor of the amended ordinance proposal signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. There being no other items of business for this evening, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We stand adjourned at 6:49 p.m. Thank you, gentlemen.
Physically.